Hello everyone, it's Thursday on Your View. Welcome to the show. I am Murayo Afolabi Brown. As always, I have the ladies with me. Hello, Mariam Longe. How are you today?
I'm fine, thank you. I just wanted to say that today is the day to just hail Lagos State and Lagos State Governor. So yesterday I used the one of the new bridges, the one that leads to the Yaba area. It takes you from that Tejosho area and all the way to Ojoelegba, and a huge difference. Usually, before this bridge, when you're going to that Tejosho area, you'll be caught up in traffic for a very long time. Everybody all around you, but now you can go right across it, across it on the bridge, or if you are able to drive down. It's so easily, so seamless.
I just want to try that bridge.
Well done. And I said this because I'd just been, putting my ears down to hear what people have to say about the blue line. Yes, I haven't heard anything. I said, Nigerians, when it's bad, we'll be screaming and shouting. When it's good, nobody says anything.
Quiet. Just keep quiet.
But, I had to ask, specific people, and they're like, oh, we're using it, it's doing well. I said, okay, talk about it. Let people know that it's working and it's, changing lives.
Fantastic.
Well done, Lagos.
Singaporean, welcome to Nigeria. How was your trip?
I had a very beautiful time in Singapore, and you're reminded of the power of continuation when you have a vision and it continues. I saw all the greenery, and my husband told me that when former governor of Lagos, Fashola, came, it took a delegate of Lagosians to see what they've done with the greenery in Singapore, and that was where he started planting everywhere. And I imagine what would have happened if 12 years now, all those trees were maintained, the greens were maintained, how beautiful Lagos would look. We need to maintain. It's not about having good ideas, it's about consistency of following through with the simplest things. You see massive improvement. So I'm back here, I'm happy. I want to continue maintaining my business. So we are doing sales at Rep 360. Come and buy land.
Let us enjoy your presence first.
Welcome back.
Welcome back first.
You're already selling market.
Why
do you behave this way?
No. Money is needed. Singaporean dollar is almost at par with the American dollar. That's at 1,000 naira per dollar. So when you buy food, you buy $10 food. In actual fact, you have spent 15,000 naira buying. No.
But how was the scenery,
the
ambience?
It shows that you can build your country around tourism. Because everything, there's a tourist attraction. And that's it. You will go from one tourist point to the other. They'll tell you, have you done this one? Have you done that one? The entire, we can't, and it's not very big. Like Ikeja, you can turn entire Ikeja into a tourist. You can turn Badagry into tourist attraction. You have different tourist attractions in Ekpe, and people will just fly down there, have fun for like 10 days. You will make plenty money as a country, and they go. So there's opportunity everywhere. Just continue consistently in implementing the good ideas.
How are you doing, Obiajilu?
Wow, this one is a session. We're doing well. I'm doing well. I'm grateful to God for everything. Welcome back,
Thank
Singaporean. That's basically all. I'm good. How are you?
I'm very well. I'm just happy. There's a lot happening in my life. Pretty excited about the future and see how it goes.
Yeah.
I'm so excited.
Let's go on a quick break now. When we come back, we'll look at the front pages of the paper. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back.
Okay, we're going to start with The Nation. Speaker Aiyedatiwa to send quit letter. President seeks $8.6 billion and 100 million euros loan to improve livelihood. Fulfill $100 billion pledge on climate change, Tinubu tells US and the EU. Emefiele yet to meet bail conditions back in prison. Obaseki should have consulted me on successor, says Shaibu. Okay, which story? Let me start with the climate change conference. Our president will take advantage of this year's edition of the climate change conference happening in Dubai to remind developed nations and the EU of their pledge to boost localized initiatives against climate change-related challenges with $100 billion annually. The president will today in Dubai, he's actually in Dubai right now, to participate in 28th United Nations COP28 as special advisor on the on media publicity. Ngalale mentioned to us. The theme this year is Unite, Act and Deliver. And President will, among others, deliver a national statement highlighting Nigeria's stance on renewable energy and climate financing. I'm pretty excited about that because we have an in-house person who is really into climate change. Mariam Lunge, so hopefully
Yes,
you'll be
yes,
monitoring
yes,
the story
yes.
and
We're
see how
monitoring it.
we can get you in that space. Yes, any other story?
Yes, it's also our president has asked the National Assembly for an approval to obtain a loan of $8.6 billion and 100 million euros. It's part of the federal government's 2022 to 2024 external borrowing plan. The president also stated that the World Bank and the African Development Bank intend to provide $1 billion and $1.5 billion respectively. The president is asking, that the Senate should look at it for, to ensure prompt implementation. The Senate are looking at it. They said they've requested the Senate Committee on Foreign and Local Debts for further legislative work, and they'll meet again in about a week at plenary. But this borrowing is specifically for some projects, and they said this project cuts across infrastructure, agriculture, health, water supply, road security, and employment generation, as well as financial management reforms. And also, they say these projects are selected based on economic evaluations, as well as expected contributions to the socio-economic development of the country, including employment generation, skills acquisition, support towards emergence of more entrepreneurs, poverty reduction, and food security to improve the livelihood in all 36 states of the federal capital. So this is, really to help boost the country socioeconomically. The president is saying if we need to take the country out of, the poverty that we're facing now, the hard times we're facing now, this borrowing is quite important. So the Senate will sit on it and deliberate on it, and in a week we'll know what their stance is.
Okay. So former Central Bank of Nigeria, Governor Godwin Emefiele, has not been able to perfect his 300 million naira bill granted him by the High Court of the Federal Capital Territory on November 22nd. So he was returned back to Kuje prison straight from the court yesterday. And we know that he's standing trial on a 5-count charge filed against him by the federal government through the Office of the Attorney General of the Federation. Now, the ex-CBN governor was accused of conferring corrupt advantage on himself, contrary to Section 19 of the Corrupt Practices and Other Related Offences Act of 2000. And he's being held in Kuje prison, was brought to court from Kuje prison yesterday by heavily armed prison officials. And his lawyer was saying that they are making efforts to see how they can ramp up with the 300 million for bail and see how they can, bail him before this week runs out. So let's see how that goes. But he's been returned back to Kuje prison.
So following up on the story of what's been happening in Ondo State, the political crisis took a new turn yesterday. The Deputy Governor, Aiyedatiwa, is expected to sign an undated resignation letter. This is according to the Speaker of the House of Assembly. He said this is part of the conditions that were reached from the peace parley they had with the president. He mentioned the fact that some of the people within the floor of the assembly were asking for him to be brought in as the acting governor. He said the peace parley already, he was reading out, he signed an agreement that part of the agreement they reached to achieve this peace is that they would maintain status quo. They don't want a division where the deputy governor might be seeking to act. It should not seek a vendetta against the team. They should maintain APC political structure. They also, part of the things they agreed was that he wasn't going to become the acting governor. He will remain deputy governor, but he will be doing the work of the acting governor. And the assembly would not, what they were planning to do, impeach him anymore. The impeachment moves will be stopped. His court cases against the government will be stopped. His expectation to become acting governor will not happen. He would function as deputy governor. He would sign an undated resignation letter that in case he wants to do shakara, they will just put a date in front of the resignation letter and take him out. But according to them, this is democracy at work, which is a participatory process of guiding the people. I doubt it, and I'm not sure. I don't know what Ondo people will say. But if he gives them peace of mind and he gives Ondo State peace and good governance, I'm happy, But it just smells fishy about this entire thing right from the beginning.
As Nima has been saying, there's a constitution already guiding this. Let us...
They should just follow the constitution.
Follow the rule of law. This is your peace parley and behind the scene. There's no need.
Moving on now to The Punch. Bank recapitalization. FG back CBN. Investors rush for mega bank stocks. FCT police nab suspected murderer. Kidnappers recover arms. Emefiele fails to perfect bail. EFCC opens 1.2 billion naira trial. Coup scared, 34 declared wanted. ECOWAS team arrives Sierra Leone. Boko Haram terrorists behead 11 Borno loggers. Bomo loggers, I believe. Borno loggers, yeah. Ondo crisis worsens. Assembly demands Aiyedatiwa's resignation, and Supreme Court. NGSC screens 22 nominees. Candidates face DSS and others. Okay, let's take one story for the break. Oh, we don't have time for that. Let's go on a quick break. When we come back, we'll look at the review of the paper. Stay with us. We'll continue.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back.
Thanks for staying with us. We're still reviewing Punch. Mariam, I'm going to start with the story.
Yes. So, suspected Boko Haram terrorists have ambushed and beheaded no fewer than 11 loggers in Damboa local government area of Borno State. According to reports, they say that on this particular, at 6:30 p.m. on Sunday, November 25th, these loggers, what they would normally do is also burn the logs into charcoal, and while they were there, they were ambushed by suspected Boko Haram terrorists. They had come on camel backs, and when they ambushed them, they said immediately, you know, the loggers were asking for mercy, begging for their lives. They didn't listen immediately. They said they dismembered about 11 of them. First, 6 bodies were found, eventually 5 more bodies. Many of them we had also escaped. For those who went to investigate after the incident, said that they could tell that they were on camel backs because they could see the hoof prints in the ground, and they also believe that a lot more people were able to escape because they were not on horseback, which would have been easier for them to chase people down. So they hope that eventually people will start coming out of the bushes to give like a you know, eyewitness account. But that's what has happened right now. It's a very sad situation, and may their souls rest in peace. Yeah. And I think the police will now start investigating and looking for those who committed these atrocities.
Yeah, I have another human interest story. The family of Daniel Oyedokun has been thrown into mourning after their 4-year-old son drowned in a canal on his way back from church on Sunday at Awori Street, Dokpemo Agege in Lagos State. So according to the story, the father said that he wasn't feeling too good to take the child to his own church. So he allowed their neighbor who was going to church, and their neighbor sent off the kids with the sister, that's a teenager, about 15 years, and they went to church. But on their way back, it was raining. And so I think he had a few other children with her or him. They didn't tell us the sex of the neighbor now. And then was trying to cross them one after the other, asked the little boy to stand. They didn't know that he was standing at the tip of the canal.
Oh,
the place was flooded, and the water just carried him. You know, before they could raise alarm and get him back, he was already drowned. And it was a painful, really painful story.
So painful.
Police had, you know, waded into the matter.
Painful.
It's
Parents will never forgive themselves.
Oh, God. Yes. The mother has been crying, you know.
Never forgive themselves. So sorry with this. Oh, sugar.
The neighbor.
It's really sad.
It's sad to just go from that to an economic-related story, but the president has expressed there's a goal for the economy. The goal for our Nigerian economy is to become a $1 trillion economy. For that to happen, a lot of changes need to be made to the current banking capitalization. So at the 58th annual bankers dinner last Friday, the CBN governor, Olayemi Cardoso, had said that it's important. They were going to carry out a stress test on Nigerian banks, and that based on that stress test, it's revealed that with mild to moderate stress, the banks it would affect the banks, and so the conversation is that the banks need to recapitalize. For that to happen, it means there'll be sales of shares, and that people are now rushing to buy stock of mega banks, because these mega banks have shown capacity for leadership over the years, and it's expected that they would gain. So they listed some of these banks and how they have gained over the past few years, and the expectation that if they go to the market, there will be improvements. The banks will be recapitalizing, which means they are seeking more funds so that they have liquidity to be able to make the economy flow. So for us to achieve a mega economic status, we need banks that are strong enough to fund that economy. And I think it's a good thing. This is a policy I'm looking forward to seeing.
Right, so let's talk about the coup attempt in Sierra Leone. So a delegation, including the president of ECOWAS, Dr. Imar Aliyu Toure, Nigeria's National Security Advisor, Nuhu Ribadu, Chief of Defense Staff Major General Christopher Musa, amongst others, met with President Bio of Sierra Leone. And they were there to convey a goodwill message from our own president and the chairman of ECOWAS, President Bola Tinubu, and others, just to express their concern about the recent events in the region with 3 of its member states, Guinea, Mali, and Burkina Faso, under military rule. During the visit, Ribadu specifically said that anything that would interfere with democracy, peace, and security and stability of Sierra Leone will be resisted and would not be accepted by ECOWAS. And they are proud of the leadership of the president. They're hoping that they're going to support him the best so that this unfortunate incident never happens again. Moving on quickly now to Daily Sun. Loans, Tinubu seeks fresh $8.6 billion and 100 million euros. 18 IPOB members arrested over killing of 2 police officers in Imo. Electoral reforms, Jega calls for ban on cross-carpeting and INEC unbundling. Appeal court affirms Fubara's victory, quashes Nasarawa Assembly Speaker's election. Abia stops payments of salary of unverified staff. Engineers hail Tinubu on road regeneration plan. And 1 killed, 2 escape with loot as vigilantes confront armed bandits in Abia. Which story in Daily Sun?
Imo State Police Command, Buki Danjuma, said his command has arrested 18 members of the Eastern Security Network, ESN, operatives as suspects over the killing of 2 police officers at Ahia Zumbisi on Monday. A statement by Imo State Police Public Relations Officer Henry Okoye said shortly after the incident, they disclosed the Special Forces of the Command's tactical team had been deployed to apprehend other fleeing suspects. So according to the story, they said the policemen were, filling at the filling station trying to, get fuel when hoodlums suspected to be IPOB and ESN members dressed in military camouflage and black-red regalia swooped in on them with 3 vehicles and motorcycles and started firing sporadically. So the police operatives fought gallantly, tried to, as much as possible, to fire back. Unfortunately, 2 of them died, but they left the, I wouldn't call them bandits now, but they said suspected IPOB members with a lot of injuries while they were running away. So they said they had mobilized, were able to give them a hot chase, and investigations are ongoing now to realize what has happened. So it's just a sad story that we lost 2 of our policemen.
Things are happening in Abia State. So the governor has said that through the Commissioner for Information and Culture, Mr. Oke Kanu, they will be stopping payments of all unverified staff in the government employment. According to them, they expected all workers in the state ought to have been verified by now to have all, so that they can be properly paid. So they've extended the verification by 2 weeks. The senior special assistant also said that there are still some workers who are yet to participate in the exercise. So they're ensuring that only workers who are properly verified will be paid. And they said that 197 schools recently were shut down by the state government because they haven't done the needful to get their acts together. So until they do that before they reopen the 197 schools, I'm surprised it's
so
not...
many schools.
Yeah, that's a lot of schools.
Shut down. What's happening to the
Some schools are not well. They don't have right documentation. God forbid it happens in Lagos. The whole of Nigeria will be talking about it. Let's move on to Vanguard. Want to take a story?
Yes, let me quickly take a quick story. The EFCC has... EFCC's witness has exonerated former CBN Governor Godwin Emefiele from allegations of the 1.2 billion contract award. If we recollect, there was a lot of allegation held against him before. He was brought into EFCC. Now EFCC reduced the allegations to 6-count criminal charge, and one of those criminal charges involved the fact that he profited from the procurement process through CBN to April 1616 Investment Limited, based on the fact that they feel it was affiliated to the company, maybe it was on the board. Now the CAC, the witness that EFCC brought, has said that the governor does not have any link with the company, and that the company was registered since long before the governor was even in that place, and that even though transactions went from the CBN to this company, the governor did not profit from it. So the worry for me is we hope that the EFCC has enough case to hold him on, so that it will not be a case where the former CBN governor will now sue a counter case against EFCC that you kept us waiting for a long time without
nothing.
Yes.
Okay, our final paper, Nigerian Tribune. Let's find a story we've not taken. Ekiti government sues Chef Dami's pastor and demands 10 million naira damages. Minister of Power to prioritize metering, distribution, transmission, and infrastructure. Shaun of Ogbomoso to get staff of office to December 19th. I thought it was 16th. Senate passes 57 billion naira police trust fund budget. And Oshoba to chair Olamiti's book launch on Thursday. Okay.
Minister of Power, Chief Adebayo Adelabu, during the third round table on enforcement of technical standards, regulation, and mandate of NEMSA, he outlined the new strategy about for the upcoming power sector strategy roadmap, he calls it. And the strategy, he says, will focus on customers down to distribution and transmission infrastructure in the short term, ensuring significant portion of currently generated power reaches consumers. He also emphasized regional energy potential, citing solar energy in the north, small hydropower plants in the middle belt, south and southwest, hybridized with solar for maximum output. Then coastal cities were identified for wind energy utilization. These strategies will be revealed, they say, after a forthcoming retreat on with electricity value chain stakeholders. They're also trying to encourage state governments to participate in distribution of electricity as well. So, we hear these words, we hear these plans and these roadmaps. Sounds interesting and
on paper.
Yes, we just hope that it can be implemented.
Yeah. So let me just shorten the story. We remember our chef, Dami,
Yes.
from Ekiti.
Yes.
Yeah, so after the cookathon and how everything went, she fell out with her pastor. They've not explained what exactly happened between them, but the pastor had ordered her arrest. Yes, she was arrested, and after a week after the arrest, she decided to go to the Directorate of Citizens' Rights and filed a case against the pastor, also a restraining order so that the pastor and his people don't come close to her. She has claimed that they have been threatening her, they won't, you know, and all of that. So they didn't give us the details. Maybe it's a money matter or something. Anyhow.
You have
All right.
money.
That's all we can take on Front Page Review. Stay with us. We'll be right back. Thanks for staying with us. So the Lagos State Domestic and Sexual Violence Agency has reacted to a viral video of a boy boasting to his friends about raping a girl. In the video, the boy was seen boasting and narrating how the girl refused to have sex with him and told him she was afraid of getting pregnant. Despite the lack of consent, he detailed how he held onto the girl and forcefully penetrated her. Now, reacting to the video, the agency urged the public to report any information they have about this incident and this young man. And DSVA said specifically, trigger warning, our attention has been drawn to this video. If anyone has any information as to where this happened, kindly get in touch with us immediately. Please, our toll-free lines have been displayed. But seeing this boy boast about this rape is another reminder of why we need to discuss the boy child and how the mentality young boys have and how we've been very, let's use the word negligent in raising them right, because the boys are raised with this mentality that it is their right to subdue a young girl or penetrate her with or without her consent. And many of us need to rise up to the reality of how we need to change the mindset. Lots of young boys, not all boys are like that. Some boys are well trained, but others aren't. And this conversation about reminding ourselves what we're going to do. How do we handle teenage boys who have the hormones raging and they want to do what they feel they need to do? But society has given them the authority to do what they have to do. But who are the victims of this? The young girls. That's our conversation today. You can call us on the numbers on your screen, 081 0764 1679 09024 163440. Please tweet to us at TVC Connect. Please hashtag YourViewTVC so we can read your tweets. Let me come to you. I mean, this was a very disheartening video to watch. He was speaking with such confidence, you know.
Excited.
And the excitement of how he violently, forcefully penetrated this young girl. What are your thoughts?
You know, we were having this conversation at the conference I attended in Singapore, and it's that, and we've said it on the show several times, that the girls that we train would have to marry and live with the boys we ignored. As a society, we have so pushed female empowerment, training our girls, educating our children that are female because they've been so suppressed for a long time, and we are not paying as much attention to the boys. I'm a mother of boys, so this is very, very important for me, that the influence I'm having on my children might get polluted by this kind of people, because this boy was gisting his male friends about the fun he had raping a young girl. Wow. I'm happy that the video got out. It doesn't matter how it came out. I hope we can have a scapegoat in society. We need to have scapegoats so that people will understand the impact of making this kind of things, of doing this kind of things on their own lives. But beyond creating a scapegoat system with one person, it is that we need to pay attention to our boys. We need to start talking to them on how to treat women, how to treat themselves, love themselves enough to be able to build their emotional connection with another human being, because that is one of the biggest challenges. They resort to drugs. They are influenced by peer pressure because they don't have, young boys are not being raised to love themselves, be confident in themselves, see the value they carry, and be able to push that into the world. If we are able to do that with them from the mental space, you will not derive any pleasure from saying this kind of thing in a video, because you know that there's no fun in saying you raped and you violently violated a girl.
So for me, there are two things that have come out of this. Is that, yes, how the boy child is raised. And secondly, is giving us context on how boys see rape. You know, a lot of times when we talk about rape and we put the girl, what did she wear? What did she do? Who was she, you know? And every time people say it's not about that, especially men tend to make it look like we're just excusing the girls, you know? And many times it comes across too as them excusing boys for bad behavior. So you see, from how that boy described it, and he described it with his, you know, with all confidence, and he was talking to his friends. So they're of like mind. So this is not just one solitary boy talking about this, a group of boys that think alike, and this is just one group. So imagine across Nigeria, groups of boys that think this way. They didn't feel like they were doing anything wrong. They felt like he actually felt quite empowered. So when we talk about rape, it is not about, oh, the way the girls behave. It's also about the way we have raised our boys. What do we make them feel proud of? When a boy comes home and talks about his sexual escapades, we hail them. Even parents, even the father will say, this is my boy. You know, those sort of things. We are encouraging this sort of bad behavior. So when a boy finds himself also in a situation where he's not giving consent, he remembers all the hailing, and then he also remembers he has to go home and tell, or go back to his friends and tell these stories. So I hope it now gives us context that when we tell our girls, close your legs, be careful where you go, and all those sort of things, that we also need to talk to boys to understand that consent, if you're not giving consent, don't go there. And rape is nothing to be proud of. This, you know, the poor girl, sure, and also I feel the poor boy. Because the reason I say the poor boy is he's coming from a place of lack. He doesn't have the education, he doesn't have the enlightenment, you know. And I believe that if he did that, he may not be the boy that we're seeing today. So poor him, because he has to face the consequences of his actions. And I hope that he would learn from this. And I'm happy this video is viral, because he will serve as an example and as a lesson to boys on how they should conduct themselves around girls.
You see your thoughts on this, Martha?
It's a very painful thing to watch and listen to. you know, for so long we have raised our girls as properties and, you know, allowed the streets to raise our boys as lords. And also some of them pick up from the experiences of their father. We've had fathers who would treat their wives as mere property. It's what I want at the time that I want it, or no deal. And then these boys see people model to them bad behavior, and society allows it. Society so long has permitted bad behavior from men. We find a way to excuse it, we find a way to allow it. You hear people saying that it's the girls that stress me. I will pay attention to the girls because it's only the girls that can bring pregnancy home. But then the boys, they will not, whatever happens, they will not be the ones bringing the pregnancy home. And we raise our boys with this sort of mindset. This is just showing us that we have failed in that area and it has to change. Also, we need to start having sexual conversations with our young adults. We can start very early from their teenage years, but we must have sexual conversations. We cannot assume that because I raise you in this environment, probably a religious person, we know that it is sin, the Bible has said it is sin, you would be able to keep yourself. No, these people do not understand most of the emotions that go through them. When they are getting into that teenagehood, there's always a roller coaster of emotions, and we must be able to catch it when it's coming. We must be able to free up our conversation for them to understand that you will be turned on. You would have things running through your body. You would have, you know, you will see somebody and like somebody and want that. And it's okay, but what do you do with that feeling? How do you handle that feeling? Do you have a conversation in that feeling? How do you channel that energy to something else? We must begin to have this conversation. It's not enough to sit down and say, they are the ones coming after. Because I've seen experiences where a boy goes out there and does anyhow, and then the parents will protect the boy and, you know, insult the girl and say, after all, you are the one that came after my son.
Came to the house.
You came to the house. You wore a very short skirt in the house. It's not enough. The boy has to be responsible on how he handles his emotion, how he channels that feeling when it comes. We cannot shy away from these conversations right now.
So let's bring it to where you're taking us to, because these things are happening. Teenagers are active.
Yeah.
Let us not pretend. Loads of teenagers are very sexually active. Now, is how do we therefore manage that activeness? How do we help them in that space? Because these ones are bragging about raping. Now, it's possible the girl may not even be a newbie. It's possible she's also active. But at that moment, she didn't want that consent. So my question is, are we stopping them from being active? Or how do we train them to be responsibly active? Or should we just say, don't do it at all?
That has not worked.
So in this case, we're talking about rape.
Yes.
So, you know, there's...
Let's be the consent.
Yes, but right now we're talking about rape. And, you know, BC mentioned that we need to talk to them, express, you know, and I don't feel that that's the problem. Because you can have these conversations, but what are the things that you imply? When you're having other conversations, there are other things that will imply that makes a boy, even no matter how much you have this conversation, that tells the boy that it's okay to forcefully take advantage of somebody. If he sits with his friends or he hears other adults...
Or his uncles.
Yes, talk about how they did it, how they forcefully got their way with someone. No matter how many times that uncle will sit and say, this is how to behave. But when you people are hailing each other, what do you hail each other on? You know, that's the thing. In what ways are you an example? It's easy to sit people down and be talking to them. With children, it's how we behave.
That's the modeling I talked about.
Yes.
You know, so in society, when a rape case is presented, who gets the blame? So a boy can also look at it and think, you know, even when it happens, I can get off easily. Nobody will blame me. They'll still blame the girl for being there. Why did she? All I have to do is say, she tempted me, she wore a certain outfit. You know, so it's how we behave. It's our mindset concerning what we think boys' rights or
so do we have
rights are over the...
So do we have responsible adults? That's what it is.
So,
responsible adults.
There's also influence. What influences this behavior? I don't think that we talk enough about the impact of pornography on children. We live in a bubble.
Oh,
Parents like to assume their children have no idea about pornography.
Oh.
We don't want to think about it. But the truth is, when you talk to those children, a lot of their sexual influence is from pornography, and they are acting out what they have seen that we as adults don't want to acknowledge. Boys watch pornography more than girls do, actually, statistically. And it influences what they want to play out.
Yeah.
So when we see somebody feel like, I would stretch a hand like this, I will stretch the leg like this, I will lift one leg up, it is, we need to talk about these things you're seeing isn't real, it is made up, it impacts on the girl's self-esteem, it impacts on how you see yourself. You can't be deriving pleasure from hurting the
When you
girl.
measure this thing, I just remember growing up, we used to hear all those uncles that would come with blue film. We call it blue film. Put in the cassette, those uncles. But now it's readily available.
It's on every
just
system.
click. Social media is right, and they all have phones. So it's an addiction.
I saw someone saying that boys would do better. I saw the guy has been putting it up. I just kept thinking, no, it's not a big deal. Why? Because I felt pornography wasn't a problem. Until I started talking to people, like I have a lot of guys around me because I do production, and I found out every one of them were indulging. And they've been indulging for years. So I'm like, does anybody around you know what you are indulging in?
They won't know.
They didn't know. So if we're not discussing about these things, because it's part of what influences. So Mariam said bragging. Bragging is a major influence. The accolades they receive when they show off their their activities in bed, their mastery in bed is part of it.
But even also, pornography that you mentioned, they highlight those aggressive, violent situations. So those are the things that influence men to think, or little boys to think, it has to be about aggression, it has to be about violence. The music, the stars.
Everything. Social media.
When they describe the woman, how do they describe it?
A music video.
Own her.
Let me come to CBC.
So I started the conversation by talking about conversation. We cannot change anything without having a proper conversation. And conversation is not just preaching to somebody, do it this way or do it that way. Conversation is also understanding where the person is coming from, asking the right questions. What questions do you ask your children when they come back from school? Do you know the conversations they have with their friends? If you have developed an act of talking to your children when they are younger, when they can tell you silly things that don't make any meaning, it will be easier for them to discuss issues like sex. I have a 14-year-old, and we're already talking sex. Yes, we started with talking whatever that comes. She gives me the story. Somebody did me like this, somebody did. Now it's easy to just go into that sexual conversation because I want to know at every point where her mind is. We must not run away from conversation. I also mentioned modeling. Modeling is about being the example. So it's not do what I say, but do what I do. And we know that young people always do what we do. Whatever we say, we're on our own. The outside influence at a certain age is greater than whatever influence we, the parents, can give in the home. So that's why you also have to rely on modeling. You must do what you want them to do and abstain from what you don't want them to abstain from. And also pay attention to the conversations you have around them. Pay attention to the things that sometimes, when we're watching movies, and two couples are kissing, and some children will hide their face. I don't like you hiding your face. Please watch it. Let's talk about it. What do you think about this? There's a level you can get that child's confidence up to, and you can have that conversation. Also, we have a lot of girls who pass mixed messages. Probably that's what they know how to. So you like something, and you start with no, 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 and then we don't hear the no again, and it goes to yes. We have seen men who say that is quite conflicting. We have seen men who brag with each other that if a lady is telling you no, keep pushing, no, she means yes. We have seen men shamed for taking the no and walking away. Why didn't you fight? We have seen men in the university back in the day, they will say, I went to his room to spend the night. He couldn't even cross pillow. And they shame the boys. So what do the boys do? Next time you come to the room, you will collect what you have come to collect. Even when you are saying no, yes, they do not listen to the no anymore. So everybody needs to pass their messages clearly and teach our boys that no is a complete sentence. Understand your body. Know your body, and nobody has a right to lay hands on your body, or you have no right to lay hands on another person's body. Right. No is a complete sentence.
Let me take this call from Joss. Good morning. Thanks for calling.
Morning.
You're live.
Thank you. My name is John. I'm calling you
John,
from John.
go ahead, please.
Yes, I want to comment on this issue of the male child. Hello?
You're alive. Go ahead, John.
Yes, thank you. I think the issue is failure of parenting. Because these days, most of the parents, if you see a child of 14 years, the parents are expecting the child to feed the family. When the child goes out and sees it, hello?
We can hear you, sir.
Oh, yes. When the child goes out and see what the society is doing, his other colleagues are involved in a lot of stuff that, to the extent that even the parents advise the child is doing the opposite of the advice because the societal value hello?
Continue, we can hear you, sir.
Also, yes, because the societal value attaching things when you are advising your child, you discover that you are praying, you are advising your child. The child is seeing another different thing outside. Because of the social media, the control of Uju have talked about a lot of stuff on the social media. The children are involved in pornography. How do we now control those things? So I think you have to do a lot of with the parenting.
All right, thank you very much. So there's the issue of pornography, which we should come back to, and there's the issue of how do we reprimand kids like this? These are young boys. They're still probably early university. These are never year 4, maybe year 1. It's probably a jam bite or year something. They're very young.
Look quite young.
How do we? What kind of? You can't jail them. You can't throw them in prison.
You will not achieve the goal.
So rape is a crime, certainly. So it can be persecuted. But the point is that how do we help to reorientate these young boys? How do we get them to see this as a crime? Because that boy clearly doesn't see it as a crime. For him, it's just something to brag about.
Yes, yeah.
But somebody needs to let these people know that this is a crime.
Yeah, you know, our caller talked about parenting, and you know, I've come to realize that parents will give as much as they know. That's the truth. Some parents don't know. That's why they are raising the children.
And give what they don't have.
Yes. And then we have, so this is where we call on the society to do better. You know, our last guest that was talking about girls' club in schools. We need boys' club. There's this show that they used to try and bring boys from the hood, and a Black American show, Boys from the Hood, and teach them how to be, I think they say, is it from thugs to gentlemen? Teach them how to be gentlemen. Because on the streets, for those that grew up on the streets, the rules of the streets is different, you know, than how you should carry yourself in a decent society. Yeah. So we need people like that to come and just hang out with boys. Let our successful men and our successful father figures hang out with these boys and let them understand that, see, we're successful, we're cool, and we're well-behaved. Because the examples these young boys are seeing are those who are saying, you know, I can do anything and get away with it. And they feel, I want to be cool like this person. And in this person's coolness, this is what he does with women. But we want people who love them, Tony Lumelus, you know, all those sort of people, hear their own conversations about how they relate with women, how they carry themselves. So it's really about education. It's about men, older men, joining their hands together, understand that there is a problem and that they have to work together with these young boys.
Let me go on a very short break. When we come back, we'll wrap up on this. Wrapping up, let me see what time we have. Okay, I think that we're not having much time for this, but I would have loved to see, so let me just let you tell.
Yes, so I realized that children who start very early to build their self-esteem have an appreciation of their self-respect. That means that as a boy, if I like a girl and I toast the girl and the girl says no, I walk away with my head held high. I will not force her. Forcing to have your way with a girl comes from a very low self-esteem because you do not believe that by your strength and your power alone and your confidence you can get this girl. So let me use my power, my masculinity to overpower you because I can't get you with my charm. We need to teach boys how to be charming. We need to teach boys how to use their skills. We need to teach boys how to communicate. All the boys in the university who had good communication skills, girls will be falling over them. Yeah. They will be the ones selecting. I don't want this. I don't want to have anything to do with you. I don't have, because they exude that confidence. But you see those ones that you mistakenly enter their room and they lock the door. Those ones do not have the lyrics. Gets the girls. So and you cannot have this if you don't talk to your boys. If you don't know how your boys relate with friends that come around to play. If you don't know how your boys are confident in themselves. Let's teach self-esteem. Absolutely. It's very important to our children, girls and boys.
Last weekend, my husband went to a church program and he just went with his pastor. And when he was leaving, the head of the church called him and said that he's been watching his videos. My husband has to think we do Brown's Couch. pastor called and said, I need you to come and talk to our teenage boys.
Exactly.
And my husband said, why do they want me to talk? I said, we need you.
Yeah, true.
You are a man, you're successful, you're good looking, people see young boys would listen to you.
Yeah.
I said, you need to consider, we need more men like you.
Yes.
Yeah,
Talking to
talking
boys.
to boys.
And boys need more role models,
Yes,
telling them you can choose this path, and you can still be cool, choosing this right path. You don't have to see girls as objects to rape. These are things. So
Carrot and
we need
stick
we need more men coming out to
Yeah,
speak to young boys.
carrot and stick approach. The carrot being the speaking, the education, the information. Stick approach meaning that there must be punitive measures when you do things like this. And the punitive measure must be done publicly.
Yeah.
Because you need to have that stick and carrot. So we do this softer side conversation, raising them. But you know the day you are found that you tried something like this, it is a public shame. The stick is just as strong as the carrot.
That's all I can take. But somebody just said, my mother said, good morning. Let me just take the final comment. So Mr. Femi Oladipo just says, my mother bought me a book at a time, says Sex Wise. She allowed me to read, and we talked about what I've read. I didn't get the practicality of it, though, but it was helpful. Forget what men do. I still believe women will do better jobs teaching our men self-respect. I'm enjoying the show. Well, it's a conversation what happened,
for men.
but this is from Mr. Femi Oladipo. Thank you so much for your comments. We're going to break now. We come back, bring in our next guest. Stay with us. Our first guest for today. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back.
Thanks for staying with us. Joining us on the show now is a 60-year-old man who bagged a first-class degree in sociology and emerged as the best graduating student from the University of Ibadan. Welcome with us, Mr. Farouk Sani, to the show. Good to have you on the show.
Welcome, sir.
So you can call and join the conversation on 081-0764-1679, 090-241-63440. You can also tweet to us at TVC Connect. Please hashtag YourViewTVC so we can read your tweet. It's so good to have you on the show. I mean, when we heard your story, I think last week, everybody got excited that this 6-year-old man that went back to school, you share the fact that your uncle had forced you to take some other course back in, is it law? Accounting. Back in the day, but you now went back to school to even start school with your son. Tell us about that journey, your decision to go back to school.
Thank you very much for having me. It was a decision that I was quite intentional about because just as you must have read, we had this uncle whose word was a law. He would simply just collect our whole-level certificates and will assign courses to us based on his whims and caprices. Your passion was completely irrelevant. So we'll collect it, okay, A1 days, A2 days, you go and read pharmacy. You go and read this. So in my own case, accounting was assigned to me. I didn't know how he came about that conclusion. But I did not know the nitty-gritty of accounting either. So I didn't know the journey I was embarking on. But because what is worth doing at all is worth doing well, and it appears I have a competitive nature, so I just entered it and I just continued to endure. But there was a friend of mine that I constantly complained to, Kolade Ogedengbe, that why is this course so rigid? Everything is fixated. Just say debit the receiver, credit the giver. That's the rule of double entry. Is there nothing we can do about this? He said, no, there's nothing we can do about it. Oh, I want a situation whereby you ask me a question and I will have the latitude to expand my horizon. For instance, you tell me that the family institution is no longer relevant. Oh, my question could be correct. Yours, it does not mean that your own will not be correct.
Yeah.
It all depends from which perspective we are looking at it.
Exactly.
So I was actually boxed in, but I had to continue the journey. And truly speaking, I graduated in 1985 from University of Ife, and it took the intervention of one of my great bosses, Sam Onyovosa, to remind me about writing ICANN. In fact, when he asked me, it did not occur to me what he was talking about. So, as he will fondly call me, FKS, at times they will call me Prof. So, when did you qualify? I said, for what? He said, ICANN, of course. I told him, I'm not yet qualified. He said, why?
After how many years?
That was 1999. 14 years.
Okay.
It did not occur to me at all.
It wasn't your thing.
So he asked me why. I was not going to bother him with a lengthy explanation. So I wanted to cut short that discussion. But my boss, he knew exactly what he wanted. When he engaged you, and he will talk to you hard enough for you to understand exactly what you are saying.
Yeah. Because of timing, we don't have time. So, but let me get a few more questions.
I want to know your experience in the university, being an elder, you know. And I'm asking this because even in my time, we had some, not to your age anyway, but we had some elderly people who were in class with us. And some people would give a form of reverence to you. Others don't mind. I bet we're all classmates. We're all here. How did you go through those mixed experiences you had with the different students in your department?
You know, the major inquiry that led me to sociology was to find out answers to why do people behave the way they behave. So it was a journey that I was well prepared for. Otherwise, I will be a round peg in a square hole at the end of the day. So I expected all of that. I knew that I needed to be that magnanimous. So human beings are subjective. The whole world is the laboratory. It's not an exact science. So a gentleman you crack a joke with today, it does not pick an offense. Tomorrow you crack the same joke. It takes offense. And you begin to wonder what is the problem. Are you not the same person? So,
The moods have changed.
over 90% of these kids will call me Baba, Daddy. And of course, I felt respected. Naturally, I will be glad. Then you had those who will insist on treating me officially. Mr. Sonny.
It's like your grandpa.
I had to adjust. Immediately. You know, listening to an 18-year-old, 19-year-old saying Mr. and persistently, he will not change it. Mr. Sunny, I adjusted. Then you now had one or two say, yes, he's a daddy, but it's not my father. Let me say the way exactly he said it, but it's not my father. So I needed to be that large-hearted. I knew that they were kids. I have the likes of them. Even in the class, there were things they do that I know that they just did those things innocently. Maybe one of them wanted to pass a book. That book will be passed over and above my head. Of course, I will not say anything. And also, you know, you have to mind yourself. You know, there's a Yoruba proverb that says,
Break it down, please.
yeah, that if you don't want to be disgraced, you also have to respect yourself. So I did not take it upon myself to suddenly become their counselor. No, I want you to be this. So if you wanted my advice, you would come to me.
Oh, nice.
So
okay,
otherwise,
let's get it. You seem to have a lot of content, so let's get a lot of things from you.
So for me, it's just brain power. Because they tell us, oh, the older you get, the harder it becomes. And here you are, you bagged first class plus 8 awards above all those small children. What were you eating? What were you drinking? How did it work out this way?
Thank you very much. Please, let me first give all glory unto Almighty God. Because I'd be deceiving myself if I did not do this. Do you know that I am aware that this brain today is not as sharp as it used to be? But of course, only very few people will believe that. That I about if it had wanted to be sharp, what else will you get? Because when you look at time efficiency, those days I would read a page, I would read 2 pages, I will not go back to those pages.
It sticks.
Locked. And I could be sure that I'll be able to deliver when necessary. These days, let me tell you, what I will spend 1 hour fixing. Today I will spend 3 hours.
Okay.
So, but I needed to ensure
Yeah.
that it's well locked so that there will not be an
If you are
accident.
taking sociology in 85,
in the exam. But what I had
also
then,
not have-
you know, what I had then, which was a very strong retentive memory, which I have less of now.
Now,
But there is something I have today that I did not have there.
Yes,
Which
that's
is-
what happens.
So I have the experience today. If you ask me the question, the way I will answer that question, the majority of lecturers will just, in fact, let me just give him an A.
Case in point right now.
Because the idea is I will be determined to exceed expectations.
Okay. Okay.
So I want to take you to retired but not tired. And that's because there are many people that approach retirement or getting old with fear, and they are unable to see something different in the horizon. You are someone that stepped out of accounting and then you decided, sociology, let's get back to school. You did not allow age or what were the things that went through your head, and what advice would you give somebody who is approaching 60 or approaching retirement and is worried about what the future holds?
Thank you very much for that question. Retirement, it is better if you anticipate it, plan it yourself, rather than allow retirement to retire one. I like that. You see, you have to be intentional about it. It doesn't have to come by chance. So I already knew that I would be retiring at this point in time, and I started discussing with my boss, my amiable boss, Tony Elumelu, and, you know, he understood with me. And there was a point he asked me, are you going to be okay financially?
Yes, you had a financial plan as well.
So you can see that he was particularly concerned, not just about the job. Of course, my job was such that there was nothing that happened in UBA, at least in the sphere of dispensation of money, that would not involve me. So, and I knew I could not afford to be frivolous. So he understood my personality. So when I told him I wanted to resign, he actually took it seriously with me. He understood me. So I planned for it, and I was tired of Lagos life. So I was already telling myself that, look, I'm going to just join the next bus to Ibadan. And then when I got there, it was not all about rest. I started resting, and I became over-rested. And, you know, petty illness started creeping in. And I looked at myself, what is going on? And I started visiting hospitals. You know, physiotherapy sessions, paying 5,000 naira per session. And it got to a time that a doctor said, please, can I have your history as far as career is concerned? When I told him, he said, no wonder. How can you just retire suddenly that way? So I now sat back, and I remember, why do people behave the way they behave? This is an inquiry that I have to now set forth to get. So 2017, I just went to University of Ibadan, and with my kid, who also wanted to enter the university then. And I think the first port of call was the Department of Psychology. We met a professor, I can't remember the name there, who told us that, oh, psychology, the emphasis is on the individual. But the way I'm listening to you, why do people behave the way they behave? You may be a natural sociologist. So that was how I was led to the sociology department. And I was made to understand that we will have to go through JAMB.
So you wrote JAM?
I wrote JAMB.
I
had thought that with my accounting certificate, I'll be given a direct admission.
Yeah.
So the University of Ibadan can be very conservative, and I'm very proud of that.
Okay.
So they made me understand that I will have to write JAMB. So I had to prepare. We went to Bere bookshop.
And you were reading for...
You and your son were reading together.
My daughter.
Your daughter?
Yes.
Both of you wrote JAM
Was going
together?
in for law. So we read together, we prepared hard, and along go for it. God favored the weak.
Yeah.
So we got that admission, and you know.
Were you ever in class with her at any point?
Did we study any course together at any point
Like
in
an
time in
elective?
sociology? No, no, because she, let me say, she spent 1 year somewhere else when she ought to have been in law. Otherwise, we would have been in classes like, in some of the classes, we would have been together, electives. We would have been together in this class.
You went back, you studied sociology, and the question you've reiterated over and over again is, why do people behave the way they do? Now that you have started this journey, is it really for you to know? Is it do you want to apply it, you know, in some way, this knowledge that you have? Is this something you're looking to apply it as regards our country, or is this something you want to just know for yourself
be a
and your
lecturer?
smaller community? What's the purpose?
Thank you very much. Initially, it was just to discover the answer to that question, initially. As for being a lecturer, you know, when you have a passion for a thing, it's a completely different ball game. I remember I used to say that I could teach even without being paid. Gratuitous service. I mean, I took up teaching English to secondary school leavers, and I remember that I was collecting a peanut, 100 naira, from them, because I told them then that I would prove to them that English is the simplest subject in the world. And so I started the Foresight Grammarians, and I was producing students, and anytime I produced them for GCE, I will also write that GCE with them. So I've written like 11 times English.
Wow.
So some of them will make an A1, I will also make an A1. And a few of them will come back to me to say, so Baba, you can say that we are on the same level. You made an A1, I made an A1. So sociology, you know, understanding the way people behave. As a sociologist, you will appreciate people's differences and you respect their spaces. You can't come here to tell me that because an Igbo man ties wrapper, that therefore it's not right. Which parameters did you use? That tie wrapper is symbolic. We have something we call symbolic interactionism in sociology. It has a meaning and a lot of meaning to them. Wearing the red cap, it has a meaning. To the Yoruba man, it may not mean anything. Just as the ring means a lot to a married woman. So I actually want to apply this knowledge, perpetuate my understanding of human beings, particularly my household first, my wives. You
How
know.
many wives do you have?
Oh, I have 3 wives.
Really?
Yes.
And they live together in the same house, or they're spread across
You
Nigeria?
have changed topic.
No, we just want to know. It's
just a
about
question.
him today.
Maybe you'll bring me back here.
Oh,
We are living together.
live together. Oh, fantastic. I'd love to interview them.
Maybe
Have you
together.
back.
You sound like a disciplinarian. You sound like a very strict man who, when you set your mind, when you make the rules, that authority, you don't need to talk
who
much,
remind
everybody
me of?
falls
That kind of-
in line. Is that the kind
Don't you
of
dare.
You see, I am. I am. Then, you know, I have to consciously water down hard lines, particularly when dealing with women.
Why? Why was that?
Oh, yes, when dealing with people who are not significant others to you. You can give instructions. When they fail to comply, you can apply sanctions. You can say, okay, you are sacked. You can't really sack your wife.
You should be in the theater too.
You see, and on many occasions, you know, when you look at the
storyteller.
complexity,
Yes.
on many occasions, when you look at the complexity, you also have to be careful not to transfer the civil war at home to the place of work.
Yes.
Is there civil war at home?
The temperature will always be warm.
I love that.
The temperature will always be warm. And that was why I embarked on that topic, my project. Domestic violence in polygynous Muslim marriages.
I love it.
Because I know the way my house is, so I wanted to know whether there were things I was not doing right. Are people just doing impression management outside there? Because I know what I'm going through. You know,
As a
you
little
have to
to the
apply
left, a little to
carrots
the right.
and sticks,
Yeah.
you know. So handling women will not particularly appreciate you being overtly rigid. You have to be that persuasive, where you have to step, where you have to calm down, calm down. Maybe.
So let me ask you this question. You combine multiple roles. You were a father. You had your child, one of your daughter in school with you.
2 of them.
2 of them in school with you. You have wives.
Multiple wives?
And you were also studying. So fatherhood, studying, being a husband, being a provider, all of that together, and you still came out in flying colors. What would you say were the key things that influenced or strengthened you so somebody watching can get inspired?
Yes, my sister here mentioned one. But the first one I will mention is that passion. You know, passion hardly dies.
They say it's overrated. Tell us about it.
No. Passion is not overrated. Because you are not going to really become self-actualized if you don't fulfill It's like not fulfilling one's mission in life.
God bless you, sir.
After reading that accounting, I had thought that the course for me that will allow me to be flexible was management. So I picked up MSc in International Management from University of Liverpool, London. I realized that I was still not satisfied. I started the PhD program. Then I asked myself, is this actually asking my question? This is asking business questions. Leadership and organizational change. So I had to come back. So passion is number one. The second one is discipline. And you know, with discipline, there are so many things that you have to compartmentalize. I knew that I had very little time, so I would spend that time very judiciously. While in school, I looked at free times. There was no time that was free to me. I was well known in the library. And weekends, all classes would be logged. I was not going also to become a burden to friendly lecturers. No, otherwise, I could have asked them for the keys to their offices. I will not do that.
Yeah, respect.
When you come to the Faculty of Social Sciences, the car park, there are a lot of trees there. I actually took a table and a chair that I tied to the tree. So on Saturdays or weekends, I will be there, I will study. And truly speaking, when you have very hard study for 3, 4, 5 hours, you'll be okay. I knew that going home, I would not be able to do anything. Oh, my wife will tell you, you have been away since, and you are here now. What else?
Sorry,
what are you doing again?
we have very little time. It's not all the time we have a man that has 3 wives. You know, on our show. I'm not sure we've had one before. So it's good to have an insight. How do you manage that? I mean, to help so men who are going to polygamy can learn from you that this is how Mr. Sani was able to manage 3 wives. Because now that you have educated, you now know why people behave the way they do. Has it helped you now in managing these 3 different personalities in your house?
Even then, it is still tough. You know, one thing is knowing the principles. The other thing is applying those principles.
Yes.
Then who is the person you are going to apply? I'm going to apply these principles to Auntie Morayo and they will work. I will apply them to you, they will not work. That is the subjective element of the human being. No one cap fits all. So you have to treat them individually.
Present.
For instance,
And check your capacity.
somebody will want to know, why are you even embarking on this? What is the outcome? So for such a person, it could be economic determinism. That if it's not going to bring money, so I don't know why you are wasting your time.
Exactly.
And you know, at times you may also be infringing on their rights, because when you are supposed to be available, even though they're also not available themselves, they would like to tell you that why are you not always available? You're also away Monday to Saturday, okay? But at night, we can do whatever we need to do.
Is there a schedule for night?
Oh, usually there must be if you don't want chaos. And that schedule must be respected.
I like it.
So they are not favorites.
I like
And they
it.
must also be carried along.
We must
If you
agree.
want it one day, so be it.
Okay.
If somebody says and whispers to your ears,
Give me 2 days.
that does not allow us
How does
to do any
favoritism
planning.
work in
Because
that?
when I enter your room today or you enter my room today, I may have a hangover that I would like to discuss with you when you next come. So this one day will not work. You will find a way of selling that idea to others. You persuade them so that they buy in. So you can do 2 days.
We need to bring him back. We need to bring masterclass on polygamy.
Because, as I say, we don't have guests like you all the time. So once in a while we have that is knowledgeable, that is mature, that has done it successfully. We need that information because lots of people are suffering in polygamy. They don't know how to handle it, but it's good to hear from you. Unfortunately, we have to wrap up.
I wish we can show.
And you know, I have no regrets. Going into polygyny. It's not polygamy. Polygyny. Polygyny when a man marries more than one wife. Okay. Polyandry when a woman marries more than one husband. And polygamy now is the father. Polygamy is either when a man takes multiple wives or when a woman takes multiple husbands. Polygamy. But
That's
polygyny,
the definition.
Very
Polygyny, a man, polyandry, a woman.
Nice.
We have been school.
We have in school.
Heard this.
Thank you. That was successful. Fantastic.
Well done, sir.
Good to have you on the show. We hope to bring you back soon. Hopefully our producers will bring you back. We'll have a full show on polygyny, how to manage a successful polygynous relationship.
Even fatherhood.
And fatherhood.
that
We
would
love
be really
that.
interesting.
Be happy to
A lot of people are engaged me to do that for them. And I do.
Okay. Thank you so much, sir. It was a pleasure having you. That's all we can take on today's show. Hope you learned a few things as we have. Have a good
Many
day.
things.
See you tomorrow. Bye for now.
All right.